Hey everyone, Scorpius here and welcome back to another update video for PoE 2. As always, these are the patch notes that we're getting. They broke their silence, GGG, after 2 weeks. They're showing us what they're going to be doing, and apparently they deployed this and then they rolled it back because there was some issues that you can read through here. But apparently either today or tomorrow this week we're getting this update, depending on whenever you're watching the video. But as you can see, there's plenty of different things and they're all over the place and everything. But as always, what we did is we simplified everything. We put it in here and we're going to go over every single thing that they're bringing. Now, just an overall opinion of mine after reading through the patch notes multiple times and writing them manually here to provide them to you guys as simplified as possible. I do think that it's a step towards the right direction. There's a lot of things that we wanted fixed and they started improving them. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be happy about this, but there's going to be a lot of people, myself included, that think that this is a little bit underwhelming, and I'm expecting a few major changes coming very soon to some of these things. But with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and see what this patch is going to bring. There are 4 very important confirmations that they said, and we're going to go over them before we see all the loot changes, all the buffs and stuff like that. Some of you might know these, some of you might not. So first one is monsters and how the loot is affected from the monsters. So apparently the loot is controlled by 2 stats. First stat is the monster item quality, which affects the number of items that they drop. And second is the item rarity, which is the quality of items. They did confirm that they're going to be focusing on the item rarity and not the item quality, so that they don't overstorm us with loot, but the loot that drops should be decent quality at least. So they confirmed that they're going to be focusing on this one more than this one. Second is the wisps and how they actually work. Apparently possessing a monster gives it +2 drops and 300% item rarity to the monsters that it possesses, and each monster that possesses before getting to the rare also further increases the rarity. And they shared that they don't feel the wisps are doing a good job when it comes down to the loot, and they are actually pretty correct, because wisps, not only they're not that great of a content, they're too slow and the loot is very bad, so they are buffing the wisps a little bit more. We're going to see that in a second. So the rarity modifiers on the items and the maps are going to be a little bit lowered due to the buffs that we will see in a second. Even though the numbers are going to be lowered, they're guaranteeing that the value is going to remain the same. So maybe instead of having like 25% rarity, it's now going to be capping at 15% rarity, but that 15% is going to be giving us value equal to 25% rarity. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we're going to see. And then the last one is drop protection. Even if monsters have high item rarity, we might get unlucky and not get a decent item. If that happens, then drop protection is going to kick in and at least guarantee us an item from that monster that we got unlucky, which is not a bad thing. So now let's break down the actual loot changes that they're bringing, starting things off with the general stuff. So first of all, they lowered the amount of normal items that drop, which is good because those normal items are not going to take space from the pool of the drops that should be rare or something better. So that's not bad. Lowered the amount of rare gold piles that we're going to be getting instead of rare items. And to compensate with that, they increased the amount of gold per pile that we're getting. Lowered the amount of unnecessary items such as flasks, gold, runes, etc. for high item level monsters. Once again, the less shitty things that the pool of items has, the better drops we will probably get. And then lastly on the general is improved mods of tiered magic and rare items by cutting out low level mods and increase their drop chance significantly. Which means that if you're getting tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 magic or rare items, this means that the modifiers that you're going to get are going to be better, which means that the drop is going to be better, and they increase the drop chance as well, which is a very good generic loot change. Next, we've got some loot changes on unique bosses. Majority of bosses will no longer drop normal items, but will guarantee a rare item, and the exceptions are some starting bosses in the campaign, which is a good thing. And you are now guaranteed a rare item in the campaign bosses only of the first kill that you do that boss, and then the endgame has no limit of that. Next, we've got the wisps. They increase the overall quality and rarity of items from possessions, and possessed rares now guarantee a rare item. So the more you walk around with the wisp and you try and kill the rare before it gets to it, the more you're going to pile up rarity of item, and then you kill the last rare or whatever rare you do, like the third or fourth one, and that one should guarantee a decent drop pool. So we'll see. Next we've got chests. I don't know why this was separated, but next we've got the chests, and we're starting off with the magic chests. Now guarantee at least a magic item and significantly improve their rarity and quantity of items dropped, which is good. Rare chests guarantee at least a rare item and improved rarity and quantity of items dropped. So the same thing for both magic and rare. All chests now get plus 50% increase of items dropped in cruel difficulty and 100% increase in endgame, which means that magic, rare, any kind of chest that you click on is now going to be definitely more valuable than before, which is very good news. Map mods will no longer increase the chance of finding a chest, but now it's going to have a fixed amount of chests that you're going to be finding. And lastly, they decrease the number of chests that you can find overall to compensate with the buff. And to be honest, I'm okay with that because I do prefer finding less chests but be more valuable instead of being swarmed with chests that have absolutely nothing in them. Moving forward, we've got the strong boxes, very similar. All strong boxes now guarantee their respective items. So if you click on a white strong box, which is a normal, you guarantee a white. If you have a magic strong box, it's a magic, rare, it's a rare, etc, etc. And just like the chest, plus 50% in cruel and 100% in endgame, which is a good change. All strong boxes have their variance of items reduced to have a better and more consistent number of items. Next, we've got the unique strong box, the researchers. Now it's going to have a higher chance for rare currency instead of magic, which is not bad. And just like the maps that we said before, the rarity numbers of mods on strong boxes has been reduced to align with the new buff. But again, instead of having it 15% increased rarity, it's going to be like 5%, but the value should be similar to before. Next, we've got some Trial of Sekemus loot stuff going on. Regular bronze chests now guarantee a rare item, which is good. Silver and gold chests have a massive increase in item rarity and quantity. Arcanist chest overall drop composition has been improved, and Arcanist chest currency and royal chest jewels are much more common now, and silver and gold keys are more common than bronze keys whenever you're doing Trial of Sekemus. Similarly, some improvements on Trial of Chaos. Corrupted rares will be phased out from the pool of rewards based on the difficulty of the trial. So the harder it is, the less rares you're going to see, which is a good thing, and currency will replace them instead. And then corrupted items will no longer drop from monsters in the trial because those were very bad items and there was nothing that you could do with them. You cannot improve them, you could do anything. So now if you take them away from the pool, there's a higher chance that you can get something even better. Moving on, we've got Expedition. They did a lot of improvements on the Expedition. All of the chests have been improved in the same way as the endgame chests, so 50%, 100%, stuff like that. Expedition Remnants will have a greater effect and their item rarity has been fixed to be multiplying correctly, which is good. Expedition Remnant mods have better rewards, double the amount of artifacts that we find, and exotic coinage drop rate increased by 50%. Not bad. Delirium got some love as well, improved the item rarity per depth to 2.5 times better than before. So the deeper you go into the fog of Delirium, the better the item rarity should be. And they also decreased the difficulty of Delirium content from 5x to 3x. So that means that more builds are going to be able to go through the fog and not worry about dying or having a hard time. For the Pinnacle content, we've got some pretty big stuff and very significant stuff. We've got Breach Splinters drop rate increased by 50%, Delirium Splinters drop rate increased by 80%, Audience with the King increased by 50%, they reduced the number of corrupted nexuses that we need in the endgame because now they grant you 5 Atlas points instead of 2, and they also improve the visibility of nexuses on the map and you can find them from further away in the fog. Again, do I think that these are good changes? 100%. It is a step to the right direction. I do believe that they need to start jogging in that same direction and provide us with more updates and more fun stuff. For example, just a simple suggestion from my part is shrines. Make shrines more valuable, make shrines more fun. Take away the negative aspect of the shrines and make them drop gold or loot. But pretty decent changes so far. Moving forward, we've got some player changes. The first one is Trinity Aura rework. Now it provides 3 to 6% more elemental damage with attacks per 30 resonance. Quality now grants grants 0 to 15% increased attack speed. It used to be 0 to 2% more ally damage per 50 resonance. So the result here is similar average damage, but builds faster and is smoother to maintain. So not a bad rework here for Trinity aura in general. Next, we've got the Barrier's Anguish Dowsing Charm. No longer guarantees a crit just from enemies having any critical chance. Now rolls crit chance normally in those cases. Another thing that they clarified is the no-cost skills. Most skills you don't cast manually, such as Blink, Elemental Discharge, Doom Blast, and that have no mana cost, now also can't gain extra cost from things like Lich's Eldritch Empowerment. Spells from wands and staves that you do cast can still gain added costs. They just wanted to clarify that. A lot of people have these questions, so it's pretty decent here. Bursting Plague now adds 100% of poison DPS as Plague. Used to be 200, so that's nerfed. Max Storage, though, is now 20% of the enemy's life and used to be 10%. Zirconia's Head has a slight rework. Damage is now taken only from damageable companion's life first, and no longer any companion. Lightning Bolt slightly buffed with its radius going from 0.5 to 0.8. Impale now expires 4 seconds on players, used to be never expires. Flash Grenade no longer blinds yourself or allies. Battle Shout triggered explosion now counts as a Warcry skill, and rearming hazards has been fixed. Next, we've got some general changes and improvement, and some of them are pretty decent here. Deleted all no longer obtainable crystalline cores. Scepters, wands, and staves can now roll additional rune sockets via corruption. TOC, Trial of Chaos monsters count reduced in areas below level 65, so it's a little bit easier to do. There's a couple of enemy nerfs here. Blade Lash Transcendence, reduce melee damage, shorter attack range. Vile Imps and Unearthed Urchins, their Leap Slam is now dodgeable and blockable, and you could just make sure that you don't get hit. Earnwalkers, Scarab Cloud damage ticks less often. Faradin and Plaguebringers Detonate Dead, damage slightly lowered and visually improved. The Stalking Pustul's visuals have been also improved, and Val Enforcer monsters temporarily disabled until they figure out what to do with them because they were a little bit buggy and unbalanced. I don't know if they're gonna ever put them back, but we'll see. Some quality of life on the Atlas map is connections between the maps on the Atlas are more visible, especially on the desert biomes. Added minimap icons for landmark rooms such as the Titan Grotto, Deshar, and Modun Quarry. World map icon added for the Titan's Fall in general, Titan Grotto as we said, and checkpoints added to the Twisted Domain. Lastly, in this patch we've got some bug fixes, mapping and progression. They fixed the Silent Cave map. Atlas could display the wrong state, now it's fixed. Fracturing mirrors and not spawning in Delirium has been fixed. The checkpoint in Fortress map no longer places you in unwalkable terrain. DK map terrain now correctly accessible. Overwhelming Presence, the aura, now properly affected by aura effect modifiers. Manifesta weapons, the Smith of Kitava's one, no longer dies from damage that you take. Supporting Fire, Death from Above, now works on uneven terrain. Wastegate unique belt no longer lets you equip charms in flask slots. Ritual Sacrifice, the Ritualist Huntress one, now gives correct modifiers whenever you use it on rares under Temporal Chains, which by the way, Temporal Chains on the players, I don't think anybody wants it. You can either nerf it or remove it. Anyway, crafting bug with fractured items in certain omens has been fixed. Fixed incorrect spirit costs from support interactions with persistent skills. Persistent minions now properly removed on weapon swap. Fixed tame beast being active with wrong requirements. And Lord of the Pit, the deserted map, now affected by map boss difficulty and drops Vanquisher book. Then we've got skill and combat fixes. The Plague Bearer's Nova now counts as an area damage. Rattle Cage now properly drops loot. Zequaddle now correctly uses wall laser skill. Strong Boxes of Singularity always drops a unique as intended. Certain revived monsters in Ritual no longer re-emerge. And red boss arena barriers now removed properly in these areas that you see there. UI instability, we just have passive skill tree compare features. It works properly, and they fixed a bunch of crashes. That's everything that we're getting after the 2.5 week silence of GGG, and we should be expecting this today or tomorrow. By the time you watch this, it's probably out, and you just want to see the collective simplicity of the details and what we're getting. I still believe that it's a tiny bit underwhelming. I want to see more. Again, yes, I know it's an early access. Yes, I know we have a lot of room to improve, but if you see other games that are doing better than the game that you love and the game that you want to succeed, do better, and then the things that they need to fix are pretty obvious, obvious, it's a little bit, you know, not disappointing, but frustrating because I do want them to fix stuff. So now that we know what they're working on and what they did and what we're getting, I am actually going to work on my little checklist of things that I would love to see improved and my overall feedback of myself and our community, you guys. And I'm going to do another video on it, and hopefully it's going to do well so GGG can see what the rest of the community wants, because it's not only PoE 1 enjoyers that play PoE 2, but there's a lot of casual players, there's a lot of people who never played ARPGs before, so I think it's very important for us to make that video and see what's going to happen. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. This was the simplest form that I could do this patch. Hopefully you like these changes. Again, it's the step to the right direction. Let me know what your opinion is below. And as always, I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Peace.